Dobar dan, dobrodošli u još jedan podcast Poslovni svijet. Ja sam Ilije Jandrić. Ovog tjedna puno više gostiju nego što je to uobičajeno, pa smo i u drugom studiju, ali i razgovarat ćemo na engleskom jeziku, a razlog je tome pomalo internacionalna ekipa u našem studiju i definitivno internacionalni projekt Muzeja Iluzija, koji je prije 10 godina počeo u Zagrebu, sada slavi 10 godina, u više od 25 zemalja ima svoje ili franšize ili druge muzeje iluzija. So I will continue now in English. As I said, today we are talking about Museum of Illusions, who is celebrating its 10th birthday this year. With me in this podcast, Business World, are all members of company Metamorfoza, who is actually in charge of Museum of Illusions. First, Kim Schaefer, CEO. Welcome.
Thank you.
Teo Širola, President and Chief Revenue Officer. Welcome.
Thank you.
Then we have Luka Novak, Chief Development Officer. Then Tomislav Hlupić, man in charge of the financing, Chief Financial Officer. And next to my left, Ivan Stipančić, Chief Operating Officer. So, welcome to our podcast and happy 10th birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Luka, let's go back to the beginning in 1215 when it all began with the idea of Tomislav Pamuković and Roko Živković.
Yeah.
How did it all start?
Yeah, so as mentioned, Tomislav and Roko, they traveled around the world, visited lots of countries, lots of different concepts, and got inspired by the things they saw to create this museum that will focus on illusions and mind tricks, basically. They wanted to do a vision where this concept is something different than a traditional museum. It's more fun, but also combining education and entertainment for our visitors. At one point, we always educate them about the illusions, but then it's a very fun concept where people do have a lot of fun. They can take a lot of photos and generally enjoy the visit.
Mm-hmm. Is it true that they were inspired actually by American TV show Brain Games?
Yeah, they had several inspirations, but one of them was, yes, also Brain Games, yeah.
So what is their position now? They sold the company and then they are now rich advisors, as I understand.
we basically, yeah, they're advising them. Always lovely to work with them. They have great insight, being the founders.
They're still involved in Museum of Illusions in Zagreb,
yes,
as I understand. Yeah.
Actually, I believe all the Croatian museums, Zagreb, Zadar, and Split, they're still very much involved and run those.
Yeah. So how did museum expand to first franchise?
Yeah, so due to the huge success that we had in Zagreb, literally lines out of the door, people just started being interested in how to bring this concept to their cities or their countries. And we started signing franchise agreements first in Europe, but then quickly actually expanded outside of Europe to the Middle East, to the States. Some of the first museums that we opened up were in Dubai, in Oman, in New York. And this franchise concept was basically the one driving most of our growth in the early years up until Invere's acquisition. And then we switched to also corporately owning our own museums. But the franchising model has been the main growth factor to achieve these 58 museums, 26 countries, basically 4 continents. And we love our franchisees. We still work a lot with them. And without them, we couldn't get to where we are currently.
Teo, you joined Metamorfoza in 2021, approximately the same time when the company was bought by Invera EP, is that right? So what has changed since then?
So, basically the investment from Invera's side into the company and buying the majority stake and then also adding some money on top to the company was really kind of a pivotal moment in the last 10 years. So I think Roko and Pamuk did a great job in building the concept and then also developing it around the world. It was already a global player. But what Invera brought to the table was how do we make the most of this, right? And how do we make sure we scale it to a new level, right? So I was part of the new management brought on from Invera's side, and so is everyone else here. Basically, none of us were there before. Well, Luka was, but he was not directly involved. He was working with one of our master franchisees. But basically, a new chapter for Museum of Illusion started then. And our largest basically change that we did was the pivot from a purely franchising model of expansion to a hybrid model of corporate-owned stores and franchise. So we still kept on franchising, but we selected a few markets globally that we wanted to do corporate stores in, right? And why is this such a big change? Because you basically needed to completely rebuild, restructure the company. When Invera bought it, it was a very small team, and we basically needed to build the in-house teams that didn't exist. We needed to pull in a lot of the knowledge that wasn't there in the company of how do we actually, source locations, how do we build in countries in foreign countries, in other continents, and how do we operate those museums then, right? So that was a huge shift in what happened after Invera bought the majority stake, and it was rapid. It was really rapid. So they bought it in 2021. We already opened our first corporate museum in the US in 2022. So that was really, really quick. And basically, since the first one, we now own and operate 11 corporate museums. So
it's 11 corporate and then more than 45 franchise.
Yeah, franchise. Yeah.
47, yes.
And still developing and growing, as I understand. So there is 55 for now in total, because I read 60, but is that the plan or
58?
58.
We often joke that whatever we say is actually untrue, because between the time when we say it and by the time it gets out in the news, it's already changed. So actually it's 58 now, but we're opening Lisbon this week. So by the time this podcast goes out, it's going to be 59.
So let's say around 60.
Yes.
In 25 countries.
Yes. Well, again, that won't be true by the time this comes out.
So it will be 26.
Yes.
26
Portugal will be a new country. So
okay, great. So Ivan, as we hear, it's the biggest chain of private-owned museums in the world. I was fascinated that one small museum from Zagreb became that. What were the biggest challenges in achieving that?
Scaling globally, I think, is always a challenge. We went from like 6 employees up to 120 now in Zagreb and Oroslavlje, plus a second HQ in Scottsdale with around 20 people. So we did huge improvements in terms of people, process, and infrastructure across the board. So to get to that level, I think it helped deploying franchise model first, because it's much scalable and not a lot of capital requirements on our side. But then we shifted to corporate-owned museums, which is a bigger undertaking for us directly. But with that said, like just ramping up the production of exhibits, putting supply chain in a robust format, getting installations out and running so we can do proper refreshments, keep the product fresh as it is. So it took a bit of time and effort, but as Teo said, already in the end of 2022, we launched Charlotte as our first corporate museum, which was a tremendous milestone for us. And since then, we launched 10 more. So we are at 11 corporate museums. Plus, I think since Invera took over, we were at 20-something museums. Now we are at 60. So yeah, huge path in these 2 or 3 years when we properly ramped up. So yeah, we worked a lot on processes, improving just the IT systems, equipment, and machinery, operating on 2 warehouses, getting people with proper talents in. As I said, 120 people across a 3-year timeline is a lot.
So 120 employees all around the world, or mostly in Zagreb?
So 120 in Zagreb and in Oroslavlje, which serves as our R&D hub, so like 40 kilometers from Zagreb. We have 20 in Scottsdale location, which serves as our US headquarters. But then every museum of ours has their own management team. So when we take that into consideration, we are looking at over 300 that we employ directly, but when we take into franchise network, it's over 1,000 people that are part of the network.
And finally, Kim, you are the newest member
Yes.
Of this team. You wrote on your LinkedIn that you had left reality behind when you joined the team of Museja Iluzija. So, how did you like it so far?
Oh, I love it. It seems like I've also left the United States behind as well. But no, I absolutely, love the team. These guys are a big reason why I joined the company, as well as the brand and the opportunity that was ahead of us. So looking at, my career and what I had done in the entertainment industry and the opportunity to come into a high growth company where I feel like I could add value and be a part of a tremendous team was just too hard to pass up.
So what was your experience in entertainment industry, previous experience?
So my longest was creating and opening, growing a chain of indoor water park resorts called Great Wolf Lodge. We went public in 2005. We sold the company to a large private equity company out of New York. And since that time, it's sold a couple other times. So just, a lot of the same things that we go through here. It's innovation. It is entertaining families. It's always looking for new ways to, make the brand stronger and better, finding that culture fit and the overall mission of what makes people, addicted to the brand. And I think that is what already existed. We've had over 20 million visitors in the 10 years that Museum of Illusions has been open. And so to be able to continue that and be a part of this fast-growing brand was really just super important.
You said you left the US, so does it mean you work and live in Croatia now?
No, I spend a lot of time here. And I enjoy it because we have, as Ivan said, we've got 120 employees here in Zagreb. So getting to know what is going on, how do we execute on the strategy that we put together. The five of us work really well together, but sometimes it helps just being here. Although this time of year, I've invited them to come to Arizona because it is lovely.
Phoenix, Arizona is American headquarters.
Yes, that is our American headquarters where I am based. And now Luka lives there as well.
Okay.
So we kind of hold down the fort there.
I just hope for the moment that some American came to work to Croatia, to change the trend.
We do have that. Our chief, or actually main architect, she's actually a U.S. citizen who moved to Croatia and works for us. Yeah.
Yes, your experience was also in entertainment, as you said, but specifically there is more than 20, again, who knows, maybe now even 30 museums of illusions in North America, US, Canada, and Mexico. Are they different from the one in Zagreb or these in Europe? Is there something special for American markets?
It's not just American markets, it's really the evolution and what we've been able to innovate. As Ivan said, we curate our own exhibits. We continue to find new ways to improve them. We find new ways to entertain the visitors who come to the museums with new revenue streams or just new ways to, grow the brand and continuing to evolve that. So when you look at any of our new museums, Copenhagen and Manchester from last year, as well as all the new U.S. museums, they are different. They are improved in the overall experience because it's based on all of the knowledge that we have, and we continue to see how we can improve to make it a better experience for people.
Yes. Tomislav, the quick question. How did you fund it all this growth?
Yeah, it was like always good for me even to hear all the stories that we have about our growth. But yeah, every company that is growing that fast needs fuel, right? So our total investment in the last 2.5 years was around 35 million euros. So we had to have a support there, obviously. We were supported by our owners. They invested they put some equity investment at the beginning. And later on, also Croatian banks, Croatian financial institutions, and minority investors. So this is the structure of our investors, and I want to say big thanks to them because this was not easy. We need to understand that this was not easy because we are a specific concept, And basically, we invested a lot into the US market. So it's not vice versa. We invested outside of the Croatia. And it was not easy for them to support it. Also, we are the concept that we sign long-term leases, usually 10-year leases. So we don't have, let's say, hard collateral. So for banks, they basically had to believe in our story. And we had a proof of concept with our franchisees. But on top of that, for the new corporate stream that Teo mentioned before, I think it was really important for us to present them and prepare good financial models and basically go to the deep details of our business in order for them to be comfortable to support this kind of business. And I think at the end, all sides are very happy that we went that path.
When you said that was your biggest challenge, the banks. Or something else.
There were like a lot of challenges. You need to understand that, for example, when I joined in late 2022, we had a really, really small team. So, to start that big of an expansion, you really need to act fast, like really fast, and choose your battles day by day. Considering all of the challenges, one of the biggest challenges was to get that financing, because we had a location signed, everything needed to roll out, and without the money, it's hard, So it was a bit. That period of time was a bit stressful because we were not, sure if we will get that or not. And then, at the end, when we get the financing, I think this was a really big milestone, and like I mentioned, the fuel for us and for our further growth.
And if I understood correctly, you have bought your franchise in New York. Now it's company owned.
Yes, that is correct. This was a strategic move for us because, of course, we see New York as one of the most prominent markets in the world. And this was our first acquisition. So we acquired it from our franchisees, as you mentioned. And we are really happy that now we own that market. So in future, we plan on maybe opening the second location, bigger location, because that museum in New York is relatively small compared to what we do today.
Luka, can you explain us what is edutainment?
So it's
very important for your museum, but
education through entertainment.
Okay.
So that's basically the main point of our museum is this edutainment component, where we educate you about the illusions. All of our illusions, all of our exhibits have exhibit descriptions. We describe how they actually scientifically work, but then we present them in a very entertaining way. And it's very fun for families to visit, for young adults, everybody. Basically, we always joke that our market is everybody, literally, from small kids to elderly people. It's everybody enjoys the museum experience.
So let's talk now about exhibits and installations. Ivan, you have really good marks by your visitors. Average mark is 4.5 out of 5. In Zagreb, the biggest critic is that it should have been more exhibits. Is it the same all around the world?
Yeah, it is the same, and actually that's why we adjusted the concept. We are constantly listening to the market and what customers are saying, and truly we have an incredible customer satisfaction rate. However, we did move from an average of 400 square meters, Zagreb is I think around 300, to now even over 1,000 square meters. So we see the need to put additional content in, and that's what our customers want. They see that and they're willing to pay even more for that, but they just want to be engaged more and immersed more, and for their visit to last even longer. So yes, we put a significant effort on investments into R&D to funnel and finance new installations, and all of them are being made here in Croatia.
Tell us more about that. So everything is created in Oroslavje,
correct?
If I understood.
Yes.
What is there?
It's like an R&D center or a hub where we do have product designers, engineers, spearrun by Kiki, our R&D director, And that's where all the magic happens. And not to forget to mention, we have a vast ecosystem of local vendors that also helps us, because they know the best what the materials are currently being used, what's the durability of them, because we need to create them, but they need to be durable to a certain extent as well, but also have an illusion aspect to it. Science is what matters to us a lot. So we tag along with this ecosystem, and we are truly grateful for all their help. And yeah, all is run from Oroslavlje.
And who is the master of the ideas? Who is the chief in creation of all these exhibits and installations?
It's multiple people are engaged. We have Christian Fintić, who's our R&D director, one of the first employees of the company in 2015, so it's a 10-year mark for him as well here. He comes out with the ideas, suggestions, then he runs it also with Steph, the architect, but also Damian, our creative director. They come up with the funnel of ideas, we sit down, we discuss. There are always criteria. It needs to be interactive, it needs to fall into category of optical or visual illusions as a primary, it needs to capture attention, and it needs to be have some scientific meaning behind it. And then we go through the criteria, define, okay, this is what we are focusing on this year, let's try to make it work, and that's how we go.
I guess you tested all of them before.
Yes, we do QA testing inside the Oroslavlje, but also in Zagreb Museum, actually. They've been of tremendous help to us, allowing us their space so we can test exhibits. So every new exhibit that we are launching from R&D now is being tested in Zagreb for a month or 2, 3, and then we roll it out to the whole network.
And which exhibit proved to be the most popular? Is there one, or there are more of them?
More than one, but I'll mention a few standards that were with us from the beginning. Our Ames room, reverse room, where you're just hanging upside down, so the photos look cool. Or the newest one, like walking kaleidoscope, where there's like reflection in mirrors of a person inside, vortex which spins, and then you kind of feel dizzy, you feel like the whole room is spinning. So usually ground illusions that take more space and that actually get you immersed.
Kim, but every museum of illusions is different in some way. What I want to say, none is the same as the one in Zagreb or the other one. What are the differences?
Yeah, so as Ivan said, we've continued to grow the museum in size so we can add more exhibits. We can add different ways to view the museum. So I think, Luka, you had mentioned that as you move through the museum, that there's really a way to have that experience. So instead of just going, linear, you kind of move through the museum. So you're experiencing different things. We have dark hallways for some of our exhibits. We have the big grand illusions that really allow you the time to stage a photo with your family and friends, so it takes a little bit more time. So everything is really understanding how the visitor experiences the museum. And so that allows us to make the experience continually better, but it also allows us, when you look at some of our grand illusions, they are unique for each location. So we have a building illusion that has something to do with the architecture or something that is famous within the city that we're going in. Same thing with the reverse room. Each one of those has a unique feature to it, which allows us to really kind of, pay homage to the city in which we're in. And I think people find that really exciting, hanging off of City Hall. So those are the types of things that we do to continue to delight our guests, to give them a different experience, regardless of how many of the museums they've been to around the world.
And last year, as I said, you opened Copenhagen and Edinburgh. Teo, what is the specificum for those two? One is the biggest in Europe.
Yes, I just have to correct one thing, not Edinburgh, Manchester.
Manchester, yeah, okay. I don't know where it came from. Maybe you
Sounds
should.
good.
Maybe you should open in Edinburgh too.
It's definitely a prospective city. Copenhagen is the biggest museum of illusions in Europe. It has 1,200 square meters of illusion space, and it has the biggest shop actually in the network. So it's also located on the busiest street in Copenhagen. So a lot of people pass by, get interested, they see the shop, they go in, they buy something, they see the museum, want to come back, etc. So so far it's been a really great experience. People really love it, and the local team is quite busy with all the visitors.
Yeah. Is there the most visited museum of this almost 60? The most popular?
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen.
it is.
in Vegas.
It's definitely one of the most visited.
Take some water, yes.
He's doing so well that he
The newest number, and maybe it will change till next week, 20 million visitors in the world. That's
total,
really
yes.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very strong number. I think it speaks to the power of the brand and our overall brand mission, which is to inspire wonder and joy through illusions. And I think that we continue every day to find ways to increase that opportunity for people to have wonder and joy.
So maybe a question for our Croatian guests. Well, 10th birthday of Museum of Illusions, but it is just one of many small innovative museums in Zagreb. How do you explain that scene? It developed later, you know, a museum of broken relationship and similar. There are many small, very unique museums in Zagreb. Luka, maybe you?
Yeah, so definitely we love that Museum of Illusions was part of this trend in Zagreb, actually made it popular. I just believe it shows both the local strength of Zagreb as a city, drawing people from all parts of Croatia, but then also the touristic strength of Zagreb and offering such content to visitors and residents of Zagreb. It's a trend in the world with this both edutainment and immersive experiences that we are glad to be a part of. So we really love that we were able to help the Zagreb scene involved in that aspect.
Your founders had Plan B, if I'm correct. They believed in this vision, but still they had Plan B, and that is what? Printing.
Yeah, actually, Toma had a printing agency, so they were working on that. But yeah, I mean, going back to those days, I remember when we had only 3 or 4 museums and us just talking around and going to places like Kuala Lumpur, which was museum like 6 or 7, and then going to the States, opening our first museums in the States. Even at that time, it was really hard to believe that we would achieve this success being all around the world. And we just, due to the team effort and the passion that this team has, including all of us here in the room, we actually, I think, surpassed all of the expectations that were set in the start.
This is one original Croatian idea that is sold around the world. What would you tell to people who have good ideas now, maybe? How to start? Teo or Luka?
I can. So basically, just go for it. Like one of the biggest props that we have to give to Tomislav and Roko, and being there from the start, like they really put their all of it into the museum. So they gave all of their investment that they had, all of their energy, all of their passion, and that's, I believe, a good way for any new founder that wants to achieve something like this. You really have to give all of yourself into. And all of us here and the teams that worked on this project, we really gave it all out. And that's kind of really probably a way to succeed, is you have to be passionate about it. You have to give all of your energy, and then also you have to risk it a bit.
Yeah.
And I would add, if I may, that we often discuss the differences between the culture, for example, between US and Croatia. So I think in the US, they are like more keen on trying, and that's why they have a lot of privately owned businesses, and Croatians are still, a bit thick about it and don't want to go that route, because we really believe that many Croatians still want to have like a security and not to try to go behind the boundaries.
Or if they will try, it will be their like side job, not
yes,
the
it's always with figa in pocket.
Ivan, how often do you change the exhibits in all these museums, and how challenging is to build an infrastructure for so many museums?
Well, thankfully, we attract majority local population in across majority of museums, unless it's New York, Vegas, that are usually touristic prone first and foremost. So there's no need to immediately jump and refresh, do a constant refresh. Let's say like every 2 and 3 years, we are trying to now get into a pattern of changing at least like 30% of the content inside the museum. But since it's a local population being driven, to saturate that takes some time. So we are grateful to have a product on our hands that can sustain this, and we don't need to do continuous capital expenditures and investments into the product. But when the time occurs, we do it. Let's say on average 3 years.
Teo, how do you plan to celebrate 10th birthday?
Very loudly. Very loudly. We're actually right now working on a celebratory party for to actually mark this 10-year anniversary. We're going to have one in Zagreb, in Croatia, and then we're also going to mark this anniversary around the world as well. So more details to come. Yeah. I'm sure this will be in the news.
Do you have the date, the month, or is it still open?
Well, it should be in June this year in Zagreb. But again, like I would not like to say any specific dates until we actually confirm all of it.
When is the actual birthday? When it was open?
In July 2015.
July. Yeah. So yeah, that would be close enough.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you. In the end, Kim, what are your plans for the future with museum? You said already something, but can you be more precise for this and maybe next year?
Yes. So this year will be the highest number of museums that we have opened. Our plan is for 15, which will get us
16.
to... Just had another one? See?
You didn't even know.
This is how fast it does change. So we'll have 16 that we plan on opening this year, which will be our fastest growth that we've had with a company that is 10 years old to still have this kind of rapid growth. Last year was the highest growth we had. This year will be the highest growth. And so it's continuing to look at ways that we can continue to grow, but we also have strategic goals that make sure that we are continuing to innovate, to make sure that we are continuing to support the brand so that we are all working again, under that guise of how we bring joy and wonder to through illusions to the visitors who come. So it is just a constant, evolution so that, we can meet our goal by 2026. We had a goal of 100 museums. I think we're definitely going to make that.
Is that still the goal, that by the end of 2026 there will be 100?
It depends on who you ask, but yes. With this group here, 100 is definitely our goal, and we feel like that is very achievable. With the way that we've built our infrastructure, we're able to take the foundation and build upon it more quickly. Every time that we look at how we want to do things, we continue to add, and we continue to make those strategic decisions to build this so that we can do it effectively and efficiently.
Well, maybe for the end, can each of you tell me what is that you like the most working with Metamorfoza or Museum of Illusions, and how it's different from your previous jobs? Tell, maybe you came from Glovo, which is also international company, but quite different from this.
It's very different. However, my experience in Glovo really helped me learn how to quickly scale a company. Right, so that was a very valuable part of experience for me to actually act in Museum of Illusions and help this company grow quickly. And yes, it's very different in terms of industry. And Glovo is international. I was in charge of Croatia, but here we were building something global. So it was a different position. It was HQ position where you need to scale it across the world. So it was a whole new learning curve for me as well. But it was equally or even more intense and even more challenging because you're operating outside of your known world of, you're very comfortable in your own country, but then when you go to other countries, it's different laws, different people, different languages, different currencies, everything, different time zones, everything is different. But it was just an amazing journey. And, looking back, we were just looking at the numbers the other day and we realized, okay, so we actually, from the moment Invere bought it, from end of 21 to end of 24, so in 3 years, we managed to grow the revenue of the company by 12 times. 12
That's
times.
really impressive.
That's incredible. and we managed to grow the number of people by 25 times. So it's, we changed the business model and built all of this infrastructure around it and scaled the company super quickly. And maybe even, what adds to the amazement of this is that we're actually a brick and mortar product, right? We're not a software where, you sell, but you already have the product. You have to build it every time, right? So it's
Find the location also.
Find the location, build it, design it, go through all the permitting. Like all of that is just, it takes a lot of time. It's very capital intensive. So even more, like when you look back, you're like, this is really impressive. Like we're not patting ourselves on the back but it's like, it has been hell of a journey. Yeah.
Luka, you've been the longest, as I can assess here among you five. What have kept you so long in this company?
I actually don't know. No, I'm just kidding. It's for me, I always tell people, like, attending all the openings of the museums, when you see those first batch of visitors come in and enjoy the museum, that really fills you up with energy, and you just want to do it more and more and more. Yeah, that's what really, and the amazing team, like working with these people and all of our people, both in the Scottsdale office, in the Zagreb office. I believe we really have a very amazing team that's achieving. I'm just gonna say, like, things that Croatia can be proud of.
Yeah.
So it's super fun to work with all of them and the people here, and that's what's keeping going. Yeah.
Tomislav, your experience, I know that the dreams and illusions sells good, It's enough to watch Hollywood, but did you expect that in this museum?
I often ask myself what to do after this, because I've been in different industries and I've never seen such a big growth and such a big opportunities. And this was for me like a once in a lifetime opportunity to work abroad and basically to know whole world. And that's something that is you cannot compare it to anything else. And guys already mentioned more or less everything, but like I said, this was for me the biggest opportunity that I saw.
Completely global.
Yeah.
Is that what's also your drive, global, or maybe new ideas, new products, new exhibits?
What Luka said, I also truly appreciate when you see the visitors enjoying what we've built and presented to them. So that really fuels you. And also for us, since we scaled so much, like 12 times, as Teo said, we always need to stretch, go into non-comfort zones. So it's also personal growth. You have to tackle things that you didn't imagine you will need to tackle. Like just opening inside the US market is a completely different beast. Like we are coming from Croatia and we need to operate. Like Charlotte, when we started Charlotte, it was like really rough from the get-go, but we were able to adopt, and that's what I like the most.
Where is Charlotte?
Right.
I know by one of the biggest airports in the States.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the case. I mean, Charlotte after Zagreb.
I know.
Yeah. But that's where Kim will help probably.
Yes. Having Charlotte, North Carolina, and kind of growing all over the country has been great for me because I have a lot of expertise, 25 years of building locations all over the country, really kind of set me up for this. I come from really capital intensive, and so it could take 10 years to get one of our enormous water parks. I mean, 400,000 square feet of space. So, they were enormous. So I love the fact that we can do this quickly with all of the, with everything that we have, but being innovative, being creative, having the ability to continue to iterate what we're doing is really just very special. And, be able to work with, the people that I get to every single day, building our Scottsdale office, to be able to support the U.S., has really just been more than I could have hoped for, and probably 3 times as much work, but that's okay.
Did you have second thoughts working for Croatian company?
You know, it's interesting. When they interviewed me, they actually brought me here. And it was probably the best thing that could have happened because I got to see, this reminds me, Croatia, Zagreb reminds me very much of where I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin. And so it's kind of the same temperature, the same type of personalities. I find people to be very kind here, a little more direct than we are in the States at times, unless you're in New York. But I have to say that I felt very comfortable. I felt, welcomed. I felt like I could be a part of this team. So I never really thought beyond the fact that I like these guys. I've always believed that you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you in the areas that you need, development in. And that way, then we all kind of rise together. So that just kind of gave me all the comfort to figure that out. Leadership from the U.S. to Croatia, not necessarily been a challenge, but definitely something different. So it's been a way, as Ivan talked about, kind of personal growth. That has been the opportunity for me, is to figure out how I lead a company when everybody's in the same office with me versus when I am here every other month, once a quarter. It's just different. So it's an opportunity for me to figure out.
How is different to work with Croatians? I mean, now, in terms of mentality, Tomislav mentioned something, that we like secure jobs. American will take more risks, but when you chief to Croats, how is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really been, I think we've hired such amazing talent that it has been really easy. When we set the goals, we, tend to include, more people in that decision so people understand what that means. We kind of lay out what has to be done. And I have found everybody here to be very, expedition in getting it done. I think how we make decisions, in the U.S., no question, we make decisions faster. It is a fail forward. It's a very entrepreneurial company. And I think, to the credit of these guys, we've all kind of worked together to make these fast decisions with the information that we have and, figure it out together. So I've actually found that there's not as much difference in the actual execution of what we want to do. And so it's been a real pleasant surprise.
Nice. It's the first time I've heard that someone compared Croatia to Wisconsin. I imagine it's much colder than Croatia. And usually Americans compare Croatia to California or Florida. But that's because the coast.
Because of the coast. Yes.
Have you visited the coast?
I did, thank you to Luka, but it was just a very quick trip. So I would say Zagreb.
Obviously, you need to go more.
Yes, I would say that I'm probably due a vacation maybe end of August, early September. So we'll be very busy opening museums, but if the offer is still there, I'd like to definitely come back and experience, a little bit more of what Croatia has to offer. I spend most of my time here in Zagreb.
Well, thank you very much for this interview, and I wish you very happy 10th birthday.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Eto, poštovani gledatelji, toliko za ovaj put. Bio je ovo podcast Poslovni svijet posvećen poduzeću Metamorfoza, odnosno lancu Muzeja Iluzija diljem svijeta. Vidimo se ponovno idućega tjedna. Doviđenja.